sister-in-law, Marti Murphy. She is gonna talk about emotional freedom technique. And she's a published author, a mother, and she's an amazing human being. Marti Murphy, everyone.
Like, yeah, I'm at a radio station. Thank you for the lovely introduction. So yeah, my name's Marti Murphy. Bailey is my daughter. I'm very proud mother of her. And I got involved in, it's really more commonly known as tapping, because you're tapping on meridian points on the body. And it's also known as emotional freedom technique, EFT, but tapping is really the common name now that they have for it. And I got involved in it over 10 years ago. And because the truth is, I was just sick and tired of my own stuff. I knew I had tried so many things to move myself forward. And I would get excited about this next thing that was going to change my life. And about 2 weeks in, I would just fall short. And what I realized I was doing is I was just accumulating more evidence that there was something wrong with me and I was unfixable. And so I literally call it a prayer, an intention out to the universe. It was New Year's Eve, 2010. I'll never forget this. And I always say most people were out partying. I was home pondering my life and realizing like, this sucks. It's okay. The trap of it is it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't good either. So I was stuck in this sort of what I would call very mediocre realm, which is like you can live your whole life stuck in that realm. And I just sort of, I just said, if there's something that can truly finally help me change my life, then send it my way. And if not, I just want peace because I'm tired of wanting things I can't seem to have. And then shortly after that, as the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, would work, I saw an ad and I clicked on it and I heard this thing tapping. I didn't even know what it was. And I started doing it. And about 3 months into tapping, I was doing it for myself. My husband goes, I don't know what it is. There's just something different about you. And what I've come to understand, so I was doing it for myself. And then I just realized, I was like, my God, if I could help anyone that has felt as stuck or as bad about themselves as I have, I want to do that. So I went and trained with a woman in New York City and I got my certification through a place at the time called EFT Universe. And the woman that I trained with was a psychotherapist in New York. And she had been doing talk therapy forever. And she was, somebody told her about tapping and she's like, okay, whatever, I'll try it. And she could not believe how quickly people compared to just talk therapy were changing. And so she saw these shifts. So she started doing it. So I got on board with her and I started moonlighting at it. And then I eventually quit my corporate job and started doing it full time. And I've loved the work. I love the shifts that I see in people. And I had the first book I wrote is called Forbidden Emotions, The Key to Healing. And it's funny when I was talking to the publisher, he's like, I don't know if I'd use the word forbidden because that's going to they'll probably find weird stuff. And I was like, I don't care. It's the title. Let them find weird stuff. And if they're meant to find this, they'll find it. But why I called it that is what I did in thousands of sessions that I've done is I realized we make emotions good and bad, right and wrong, okay and acceptable and unacceptable. And it's never the emotion that's the problem, ever, 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 ever. If it's rage, if it's hatred, if it's any of those things, it's the actions that come from the suppression of emotion that cause the problems. And much like that's why I love JAMP. I like anything that works with the brain. And as I've come to understand the science behind tapping, because it always kind of blows my mind that people think it's this woo-woo thing. And there's so much science behind it. But what I saw is that it's when we make ourselves wrong for whatever we feel, whatever we're experiencing in life, it's the judgment of self that holds patterns in place. And if I have a mission, it is, with myself included, because I am definitely a work in progress, is to help people learn to accept themselves more, even in their worst moments. Because I know I've riddled myself, tormented myself with self-judgment. And so when I found that, when you start to embrace emotions, whatever they are, even if you feel like you hate someone, when you allow that and you tap through it, and you can jam through it, but if you allow it, it releases. It's the like, I'm not supposed to feel that. I'm not supposed to think that. I shouldn't do that. That holds it in place. And I was studying the law of attraction for a long time. And then I woke up from that nightmare of, and I do believe thoughts are things, because every single thought we think emits 50 to 70,000 neurochemicals into the bloodstream. So the more you're thinking a thought, the more you're literally programming your cells for more thoughts like that. What tapping does, and what I see Jamp does, it interrupts those thought patterns. You can't stop your thoughts. That's how I tormented myself. I kept going, I've just got to think positive and happy thoughts and everything's going to be okay. When I found tapping, I couldn't have eked out a positive thought to save my life. And God knows I tried. I just couldn't. I was too tormented. So when I finally realized, but with tapping and like Jim, you interrupt these patterns of thinking that are in place, they start to loosen their hold. So when you can go into the darkness or go into the forbidden emotions, even if you feel like you hate someone, instead of telling yourself, I shouldn't hate them, in tapping, we go to the negative or the truth. I like to say, you go in and you tap and you're talking about it, you're tapping while you're doing it, and it releases naturally. You don't have to try to forgive or try to like someone or try anything. It releases on its own. And that is such freedom. That is absolute freedom to no longer torment yourself with, I shouldn't feel that way about the person. I shouldn't think that. I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't do that. And even again, in your worst moments, what we call our worst moments, our most human moments, you can release that. And so in Lahava was telling me about Jamp, I was like, oh my God, anything like that where you're involving the brain, it's tremendous. So this book, Forbidden Emotions, is all about tapping. There's a chart. It tells you how to tap it. I have a chapter, just so everyone knows, called, I won't say the expletive, it's called FU tapping. And when I started working with clients, what I found is so many of us, I'm going to say this, I think typically in our culture, women more than men suppress anger. I'm pretty epic at anger, as Lahab says, the warrior, but we've in men suppress sadness more because it's more weak, and that the culture's insane that we live in that tells us how these emotions are. So when I would have a client that I saw a lot of suppression, and I would say, well, if you could say anything to this person, they're never going to hear this, they're not going to be wounded by this, hurt by this, what would you say to them? And it was amazing. Even the most demure client would go, I would say F you. So I was like, okay, can we tap on that? That doesn't mean that's for everybody. So we started tapping through it, and then they're like, oh my God, I feel liberated, because they were releasing that energy from the nervous system instead of saying, I shouldn't feel that way about him, because that's just another way we suppress and make ourselves wrong. So this book was, it was kind of hilarious. My husband said to me, Marty, I think the Britannica encyclopedias were published before this book was, because I had the idea like 12 years ago, but it took me a long time to ultimately write it. And then the following year, this was a 365-day book. So it's like a daily book. And this book is definitely reflects even more of where I'm at now, where I do a lot of, it's just January 1st through December 31st, where it's debunking the personal development world. Because there's a lot in the personal development world. We were talking about that, let go, let God. Okay, how do I do that? Be the first to forgive. how? I hate them.
Yeah.
Right? Like, how am I supposed to forgive them? I want to throat punch them right now. So with tapping, you get to go into that and you release it. And then they never know better. You don't throat punch them. You go, oh my God, I'm liberated. I don't feel that way towards them anymore. And my personal beginning of my liberation is when I was thinking about my parents and my upbringing and growing up in a very devout Catholic family with a father that really would have done well as a priest. I thought I hated them. When I really got honest with myself, I hated them. But then when I tapped through it, I got to the other side of that. And everybody was like, oh, they did the best they could. You know, they did the best they could. Yeah, I know they did, but I still want to throat punch them. Yeah. So when I finally let myself have my full unadulterated truth and I tapped through it, I've never felt that way about them since. I've literally felt like they were wounded, they had their own wounds, and I'm congruent with that. The problem was I could not be congruent with that because society, the culture was telling me they did the best they could. Yeah, but it sucked for me. Mm-hmm. So when I let myself have the it sucked for me part, it was transformational. And that's why the forbidden emotions thing is like, let ourselves have our truth. Stop telling ourselves. I'm not ever suggesting that you walk up to somebody. You might have to do that, but you get to do it in a private, safe, healthy way and release it from the nervous system. And I talk about the science of that in here. And again, the personal development world, which I read an article a few years back that said, is the personal development world gaslighting you? Yes. And I'm like, oh my God. And Chrissy, you're the one that taught me the new age, new cage. Yeah. I was like, oh my God, that's classic. And how the personal development world, and one of my all-time like least favorite saying is put your big girl pants on or put your big boy pants on, because it's basically denying your humanity, your truth. And so I wanted to, I don't know how much time we have, but I wanted to kind of do an exercise with people to give you a taste of tapping, but do we have time? Okay. How much? 40. Oh, great. Okay. This will be great. So does everybody have paper? And if you don't, we have some, and then a pen, and you have something to write on. And you don't have to do it. So what I want you to do, and I'm going to show you tapping, but we're going to do this first. So I want you to write a list. This is going to sound counterintuitive. Just let it flow, whatever it is. What don't you want? Whatever comes, what don't you want in your life, in your world? What don't you want? And just take a minute or two. And anyone online? All right. You could write, if you're like me, I could write forever. So now what we're going to do, I want you to look at each of those things you wrote out, and I want you to rate it like on a 0 to 10 scale. So 10 would be, it's completely impossible that how do I want to say this? if you have this in your life, or it's completely impossible to avoid this, or if it's in your life, like say, I don't want to be broke, let's do something like that. But you're like, you have fear about being broke. Like, how impossible does it feel that you could change the way you see this? Does that make sense? That it could feel like it could be am I saying that right?
10's most impossible one.
10's most impossible. Like, it's never going to change for me. Like, this fear I have of this is never going to change. Is that helpful?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I see some confused faces. So yeah, the fear I have, oh God, that could happen. It's impossible to change it. Okay. So I'm going to walk you through tapping, and we're going to, I'll show you how this goes. So what we're going to do is you're going to take your karate chop, and I'm just going to walk you. This is what's called the basic recipe. They're doing more like bilateral tapping now. I don't do that. I never have. It's the simple basic technique has always worked for me. So there's a couple different ways to tap, but I was trained in the basic recipe, which the guy that started EFT, a guy named Gary Craig, did. So what you're going to do is you're going to tap on the karate chop. And again, this is literally, we're going to karate chop a board, and I'm just going to walk you through the sequences, and then we're going to actually tap together. So here's what we call the setup statements. So when we're tapping on the karate chop, you just keep tapping. We're going to do 3 of these statements when we actually tap, and they're even though statements. So it's like, even though this feels impossible, I choose to honor, I feel this way now. And we're going to say like 3 statements like that. What we're doing when we do this is we're just letting the subconscious know, I acknowledge, I have this issue, or I have this fear about it, but, I'm open to it. At least I can acknowledge it, or maybe not accept it, but acknowledge it. So we're readying the subconscious mind for this issue, if that makes sense. So we'll do that 3 times. And then we do, and you guys will see me doing it. We go to the eyebrow. And these are what's called reminder phrases. So when we're tapping on this portion, we're literally reminding the brain what we're tapping on. And it usually sounds fairly negative. And then the side of the eye. So it's like right here. You can do 2-handed if you want on the parts. I just always do 1 under the eye. So like right here, kind of below your pupil. I always end up doing it on my cheekbone because that's where it's at. Under the nose, the indentation on your nose. Chin point. Collarbone. So you can do this, or I just go, here's your collarbone. I just go just below that, about 2 inches out. You're going to tap in the 2 really goofy spots under the arm. So it's 4 inches below your bra strap, or where your bra strap goes around. And then a goofier one is top of the head. I know. And I always want to do the monkey thing, like, when we're doing this one. So I just tap in a circle around the head. And the first time I thank God I was so desperate when I saw tapping, because if I'd been using my intellect to think about it too much, I would have been like, that is some stupid looking stuff. And I'm not going to do it. But it was amazing to me how it was helping. So you're going to repeat my words. I'm going to say a statement, and then we're going to start tapping, and you're going to repeat what I'm saying. Now, what you can do when you're repeating my words is you can change my words. When you're repeating it, you're going to be saying it out loud, or, I recommend you say it out loud, but there's a group of us. But if you want to say something differently in your head that feels more accurate than what I'm saying, just say that, because the brain's going to feed you information. If you're like, even though this feels impossible, I choose to honor, I feel this way now. You're like, I don't honor that. Just let the brain go where it goes. And that's your truth, because the brain's just going to guide you. And then we'll go through these. So does it make sense? You'll repeat after me. So even though this doesn't seem possible, this will never change for me. I choose to acknowledge I feel this way now. Even though I have learned beliefs, they tell me this is impossible. It's not going to change for me. I deeply and profoundly accept myself now.
I deeply and profoundly accept myself now.
Even though I have a lot of beliefs
Even though I have a lot of beliefs
that tell me this is impossible.
that tell me this is impossible.
I've been this way this long.
I've been this way this long.
This isn't going to change for me.
This isn't going to change for me.
I choose to acknowledge my truth right now.
I choose to acknowledge my truth right now.
And then we're going to go to the eyebrow and tap through the points. It's impossible.
It's impossible.
This is not going to change.
This is not going to change.
I don't want this to happen to me.
I don't want this to happen to me.
I have fear that it could.
I have fear that it could.
And that fear has gripped me for a while.
And that fear has gripped me for a while.
I'm not going to be able to let this go.
I'm not going to be able to let this go.
And I'm probably going to attract it to me.
I'm probably going to attract it to
And
me.
that's a terrifying thought
And that's a terrifying thought.
because I can't stop these thoughts.
I can't stop these
So
thoughts.
I think I'm screwed.
So I think I'm screwed.
But what if it doesn't matter?
What if it doesn't matter?
What if I'm catching myself right now
What if I'm catching myself right now?
in this belief that it's impossible?
In this belief that it's impossible.
And I'm tapping my way through it.
And I'm tapping my way through it.
I'm honoring, acknowledging my truth.
I'm honoring and acknowledging my truth.
And what if by doing this,
What if by doing this,
I start to feel lighter about this,
I start to feel lighter about this?
or I just feel less stressed?
Or I just feel less stressed?
Maybe I feel a little more possibility.
Maybe I feel a little more possibility.
I'm just open to a shift,
I'm just open to a shift.
even if it's just 1%.
Even if it's just 1%.
That means I'm moving in the right direction.
That means I'm moving in the right direction.
And God knows I'll take that.
God knows I'll take that.
And I kind of like that idea a lot.
And I kind of like that idea a lot.
So take a breath. Did anybody notice anything at all that came up like a random thought? I even say like the Energizer Bunny went through my head.
I noticed like a little shift of like this like little baby lump building up in my throat and kind of like almost being like, maybe I don't know, I don't really want to come out yet.
Ah, yeah, that's great. Yeah, but like the body never lies. The body keeps the score. So the body will tell you a lot. And often when I'm tapping on something that's more, I always get like, I call it the baseball in my throat. And it's like, and then it starts to release.
Felt like golf ball size.
Right.
But it was, I was like, I feel like it could be bigger, but it's like, oh, we
Yeah.
don't have this much come up so far. Right
Yeah, and I am a believer with tapping that the brain protects us.
Mhm.
Now, again, you don't want to go full bore. Again, we don't want to like re-traumatize somebody, but I find people's brains will not take them to a place they're not really ready to go. That's my experience. But again, it's always like the beauty is you just keep tapping. Like, you're getting the thing to know with tapping too is you are going to get triggered even further when you tap. That's a really good thing. People are going, oh my God, it's not working. I'm getting more triggered. What it's actually letting you know physiologically is you've targeted something that's coming up to be released. So if you're feeling, if all of a sudden the emotion spikes, that's great news. Because it's like, wow, I've targeted something and now I'm releasing it from the nervous system. So that's always good to know, because if people don't know that, again, they think, oh my God, this isn't going well. So like yours, it's like, oh, it creeped up, but it's going back down, and that's okay. It's going back down and trusting that. Yes, Eric.
Yeah, it did something for me too. When I first, I mean, during the process, first thing I thought of is I'm a mental and emotional person and not a body person.
Right.
I am terrified to dance. I don't know how to dance. I'm terrified to learn. I'm scared. I've only just since I've been doing jam been able to move my body to music when I'm by myself. No one's watching.
Right. Yes.
But I started doing the same thing to the tapping that I did when I first started jam. I really buckled, my defenses really buckled up, and I said, this is bullshit. I don't believe these affirmations. That I mean, this is stupid. I mean, I was literally thinking this just now.
Absolutely.
So
Sure.
what do I do about that?
See, what I would do in a one-to-one session with you is I would go there. That would be the place I would tap on, because that's what's coming up. This is Let's do it. Go to the eyebrow. This is bullshit.
This is bullshit.
This is my territory. I love this. I don't believe this shit.
I don't believe this shit.
This isn't going to work.
This isn't gonna work.
I'm not going to do this.
I'm not gonna do this.
And you can't make me.
You can't make me.
In fact, I refuse to let you make me.
In fact, I refuse to let you.
You're not going to get me to go there.
You're not gonna get me to go there.
You're not the boss of me.
You're not boss of me.
I am not going there.
I'm not going there.
I refuse to go there.
I refuse to go there.
Not going to happen.
Not gonna happen.
No way, no how.
No way, no how.
You cannot make me.
You cannot make me.
And I don't have to go there.
I don't have to go there.
I can learn to honor and trust myself.
I can learn to honor and trust myself.
I have this emotion coming up.
I have this emotion coming up.
I've got a lot of resistance surfacing,
I've got a lot of resistance surfacing.
and I'm self-protecting.
And I'm self-protecting.
I'm not self-sabotaging,
I'm not self-sabotaging.
because that's just more judgment.
That's just more judgment.
I'm just self-protecting.
I'm self-protecting.
And I'm going to honor that now.
And I'm gonna honor that.
And just take a breath. What's happening for you?
Oh, God, I don't like this.
Don't like it.
No, I'm a little upset.
That's, are you okay to
Yeah,
go?
yeah. I first started feeling, I first started laughing at myself.
Yeah.
inside. I'm going, God, Eric, you see how stupid you just sounded? Why did you open your big mouth? And then I started getting upset because there's something that shifted in my thinking that made me realize, why are you at this point in time, after all you've gone through, why are you denying something that you don't, just because you don't understand it?
So this is what I call the bully in the brain. It's the bully in the brain. It's the inner bully. It's like, you'll never make it. Who do you think you are? Oh, you're a piece of shit. It talks to us like that. It's very punitive. That gets activated in tapping. And it's like, it can sound rational too. Why are you denying it? What, it's not reasonable. You know, this will work. So it's the sneakier way it can show up. So this is actually good, Eric. I know it doesn't feel that way. Are you okay to keep tapping on this? Because
Yeah,
I want to go.
sure.
Okay. I am really reacting here. And I'm really judging myself. And there's that bully in my brain, that demonic voice. And it sounds like anybody you know? Anybody talk to you that way?
A lot of people.
Yeah. So this is,
A long time ago.
yeah, this is the voice from my childhood. All those authority figures that were so judgmental. They practice tough love as if there is such a thing. I got pounded to dust with all their rules and regulations, the way they treated me. And that little boy in me that went through so much has a lot to say right now. He's talking to me. And I want to let him know right here, right now, that as best I can, I've got his back. And he's okay. And he's needed to feel these emotions for a really long time. And he's so sad. And he's, because of everything he went through. And right now I'm just honoring him. And I'm giving him a voice. And I'm giving him space. Because he needs to be heard. And I'm letting him be visible. And that was not safe for him as a kid. But I'm letting him know right here, right now, you're in good company. And you are safe. And I have your back. And you're being seen and heard for all you went through. And I've got you. So take a breath. What's happening for you, Eric?
Part of me is extremely embarrassed,
So
and part of me is, I don't give a shit.
yeah,
If I am embarrassed, so what? I'm
I'm,
trying to work on myself.
yeah, I'm incapable of not sobbing in my sessions. Like when I do tapping for me, I'm like sometimes I hyperventilate in them because I've just had that much that's come out. So let's, I'm going to keep going because this is important. I feel so embarrassed
I feel so embarrassed.
and I also don't give a shit.
And I also don't give a shit.
So I have an inner conflict.
So I have an inner conflict.
That little kid that's so embarrassed,
That little kid that's so embarrassed.
that was not allowed his truth,
That was not allowed his truth.
is going to battle
Going to battle
with the part, I don't give a shit.
with the part, I don't give a shit.
And I kind of like the I don't give a shit
I kind of like the I don't give a shit.
because I've been embarrassed for so long.
I've been embarrassed for so long.
And I'm going to coax my little boy
And I'm gonna coax my little boy.
and let him know it's okay. You're embarrassed.
Let him know it's okay, you're embarrassed.
You're not bad or wrong or stupid.
You're not bad or wrong or stupid.
You learn to feel embarrassed
You learn to feel embarrassed.
for being human.
For being human.
And in our cultural society
In our cultural society.
and masculinity,
And masculinity.
you're not supposed to be embarrassed.
You're not supposed to be embarrassed.
Put your big boy pants on.
Put your big boy pants.
But I'm letting that little boy know
And I'm letting that little boy know.
you get to be you here.
You get to be you.
You get to be all of you.
You get to be all.
And I'm going to help you learn
And I'm gonna help you learn
to not give a shit
to not give a shit.
and take a breath. How you feeling?
A little more relaxed.
Yeah. What else is coming up? Anything?
That as long as I integrate the dichotomy of thought that I have about it, the embarrassment and the, so what, I don't give a shit what you think.
Mm-hmm.
As long as I can integrate that and understand what you just were saying,
Mm-hmm.
then that makes it easier for me to handle the meaning behind what just happened.
Yeah.
So it was your words there, your, for lack of a better way of saying it, your affirmations that helped me work through the emotions of it. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
You
There-
said some things that really helped me.
Good, good. So in like an EFT, we'll do that kind of bridging the brain to believe more like, well, what if this is okay? What if it's, what if statements are really powerful? What if it's okay? I feel this. What if it's okay to be embarrassed? Because as children, we are victims. Even in our culture and in the personal development world, you hear it like, they're such a victim. Duh. Yeah, they are, because they were. As a kid, they couldn't run away. So we shame the victim now too. Like, oh, stop being such a victim. No, I'm going to be a victim until I'm not anymore. And when we learn, that's why I mean the judgment of self is the thing that holds so much in place. I'm not kidding. Eric, this would be good for you to do. I have photographs of myself as a little kid because it's so important for me to connect to my inner child. Because, it was funny. I was coaching with clients, tell them, get a picture of yourself, have your little kid there. I had mine out, walk by mine all the time. Didn't
I
even
even
look
phone
at
background a picture of myself as a little child, so that's
That
what I
is
see
perfect.
all the time.
Yeah, mine is too now. And it's like, but I would walk by mine and like telling everybody else to do it, but I wasn't doing it myself. So when I have it now, I have a picture of myself at 6, when I was in first grade and beaten by a nun, when I was 6 months and my parents had a car accident, and I understand the trauma of what happens to an infant that. And then there's another picture in 4th grade where I had a tyrannical teacher. And I look at those and I literally look at that part of me and go, it's okay, baby. I literally talk to myself this way. It's okay, baby. It's okay. You're embarrassed. It's okay. You're feeling shamed. It's okay. You're feeling that. Because that was not language I heard. I know my sister just didn't hear that either. Like, it's okay, baby. It's okay to be embarrassed. There's nothing wrong with being embarrassed. And that the subconscious doesn't know the difference. You can literally reparent your inner child doing that. Yes.
Well, here's the synchronicity, because I just got through showing Emily this morning 3 or 4 pictures of me about 50 years ago.
Wow.
So,
Yeah. And I would look at them. Eric, I look at,
oh, wait,
yeah.
that must have been a coincidence.
right? I look at those pictures of me now. I have wept looking at those pictures of me now, like, especially when I think of the 6-month-old self, it was a picture taken right before my whole family got in a car accident. And then my mom was hospitalized and I was taken care of by apparently, like, I don't have any cognitive memory of that, but I definitely feel that trauma in my body. And, but like when I was 6 and I look at that picture of myself and I literally go, you are such a sweet little girl. Like, how could that psycho nun have freaking beaten you? And I let that part of me know, whereas before I was just like, there's something so wrong with me. That's why she beat me. Like, I'm a terrible kid. And I definitely grew up believing I was a terrible kid. I grew up believing I was a difficult kid. Grew up believing I was a problem kid. I was taken to the principal's office so many times. And I realized it's not because I was a bad kid. I had independent thought. And I was questioning what the Catholics were telling me. And they don't like that. And so I got punished for being curious. So when I go to that kid and go, it's okay, baby, it's okay. That's what I do. I've done that. I like to share this story about with my husband. For the longest time, I would literally, I saw my mother do this. I would chase him around the house, meaning when we were in an altercation, in a fight, we got to talk about it. We got to talk about it. We got to work it out. Like, I was like that. And a therapist said, oh, Marty, your kid's activated. I was like, holy shit. Like, I started to separate and go, that's my kid. Now, I didn't change a thing with him for probably 3 to 4 months. But what was happening is we would have that happen and I'd feel the pull like a moth to the flame. I'm like, we got to talk about it. We got to work it out. Because that abandoned 6-month-old, nobody's fault. It was an accident that happened, but that little infant's in a crib and where's her family? And when I was able to connect and go, my kid's activated right now, I started to separate. I couldn't change it right away, but I would watch myself still going, we got to talk about it. We got to work it out. We got it. And the more I would do that, the more he'd be like, get the fuck away from me, like that, because like, talk about complexes being triggered. And then all of a sudden the day came and I'm like, oh my God, I can walk away. It took me 3 to 4 months, but I was becoming so much more conscious of this unconscious pattern. And I could be like, oh, I don't have to do this.
I'm not trying to turn this into my tapping or jam session.
No, this happens.
But it also just brought up when I was in grade school. I was like 3rd grade, I was tied in a chair with a rope by the teacher. 6th grade, I was made to sit in garbage cans all day and yell boom every time the hand got to the 12. Hit with erasers, pencils, pens, their pad books, anything the teacher could throw at me.
Now they'd be brought up on charges. It's physical and emotional violence. Like the stuff the nuns did to us,
So that's
like,
what this session
yes.
just brought to my mind.
yeah. And that's good. That's coming up because then you could either jump on that or tap through it. What I would recommend is that you go into that. I would take you back to that incident and tap through it with you to release it. Not would mean you might have a lot of emotional charge that comes up, but you're going to release it because that's still in the nervous system. That's what Chrissy does. She finds that stuff in the body. That's why she's saying get the body involved too, because they're so interconnected. And I mean, I've worked with her doing release work and I'm like, whoa, what's happening to me? Because she's finding it in the body. But in the tapping, you go in and you're releasing it from the nervous system.
Well, Maddie's doing a jam session on me in a week. So
That's awesome. Now you got a lot of fire to, you know where to go with it.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Thank you
So
very much.
absolutely. Are you feeling okay now?
Oh, yeah, and I really appreciate everything.
Yes.
You've just done.
Yeah, that's
And
great.
I'm sorry to
No. This happens all the time. You know, I have an idea, but I know this can happen and it's really important. Well, Eric, good luck.
Yeah.
Take care of that. I'm going to finish the assignment and I hope that works out for you.
And Don, I'm not a wimp. Stop calling me that.
Right.
No, he didn't.
Yeah.
He didn't do that. I'm just messing with him because
Yeah.
I love him.
Yeah, right. But I'm sure that was told you, especially as a man in this culture.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the horrifying part of being a man in the culture. It's instead of like, I just want to fall apart and crumble right now. And then for women, like, I am so enraged, my eyeballs are popping out of my head, but I've got to be nice and pleasing and feminine and demure and sweet and kind, and I want to throat punch you. And I call it happy thoughts through gritted teeth. I'm so happy for you. We've all met those people. They're toxic positivity. I've got to be so positive that I'm like, I'm enraged, but you're never going to know that about me. You know, it's like they go to we try to go to forgiveness and we try to be positive before the body and the mind are ready. So tapping, champ, all that allows that to be dispelled. So you don't have to try to forgive. I've stopped trying to forgive. In Catholicism, it's be the first to forgive. I hate them, but I'm supposed to forgive.
Oh my God, I just made a connection.
Mm.
Because in other sessions and with Lahab, I've talked about, you know, when I was in junior high, for about 3 or 4 years, I was physically abused, beat up by grown men.
Yes.
And now you say, well, how could that happen? Because when they would I'd try to hang out with them and then go away, you little punk. And as soon as they did that, my words were not very kind to them.
Right.
And I was ready to fight them. I didn't care if I was going to get hurt. And so I did. And of course they beat the snot out of me.
Right.
And gee, I wonder why it was adults I was picking on now, you know, or why I was starting fights with.
Right.
Because I just named 3 in my junior high years that I just put that together.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's a cognitive
Thank
shift.
you.
In EFT, we call it a cognitive shift. It's
Yeah.
like your brain's feeding you that information. Go, oh my God, I'm connecting the dots. And sometimes that's enough to let it let it move on.
Yeah.
But otherwise, sometimes it's just like, whoa, there's an awareness.
God, I feel like I need to pay you for this.
That's what it's here for. Where are we at time wise? I just want to be 10. Okay, 15. So thank you, Eric. I
Yeah.
mean, that's great. That's how tapping works. You guys got a
Yeah.
experience of it. And
Well, you have time to make somebody else cry.
yeah. Oh my God, I used to say that. I was like, I make people cry for a living. But
Could you do this on Lahab?
what's that? Yeah, right.
I hope he's mad at me.
Yeah. So, and I do want to say this, Lahab said, try some tapping sometime with the jam session. So I did it, and Emily was supervising, and so we were doing jam, and I had a client that I had tapped with for a long time. And so she's doing this, and then she was like tapping. So we're doing tapping too. And we finished, and there was a lot of release going on. Emily, I'll never forget this because I thought it was hilarious that you said this. She goes, that was sick. Because it's just any way you can move the energy, you know. And even in tapping, you know, they do the eyes up hard to the right, eyes hard down hard to the left, and that's why I know with the jam, and you're doing the eye movement, and then you're pounding yourself with affirmations in a good way in the middle of that. It's such an interruption of the thought patterns that are going on, and it's ultimately you're transforming that because you're literally changing your cellular physiology the more you interrupt. Yes.
So aside from the points that you had us go through, are there other main tapping points? Because recently I found just like intuitively, it feels really good to just be tapping right here.
I would
Like,
totally
using my
trust that.
crystal and just like
I would literally trust
tapping
that.
right in here and like right up here.
Yeah, I wasn't trained. I was trained. So I was trained what's called the basic rest, which you saw, but I had no other people that tap here. So they'll do this. And then some people do two-handed. I do and I don't. Mostly I was trained one, it doesn't matter. So they'll go here and then they go here, here, here. There's meridian points all over the body. If you feel,
So if it feels good.
I would
it's
totally
good.
do it.
Okay.
Absolutely trust that, you know, because you know, everybody's different. We're not cookie cutter. And if you're drawn to do that, trust it. And I would say anybody that tells you, well, that's not the accurate tapping point, just
Well, it feels good. Don't
walk
try
in
it.
the other direction. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Because it's the most important thing is to trust what comes for you.
Cool.
So, and if there's other ways, you know, people do tapping and that, and I find the things that I like and the things that I don't so much. So, yeah, great question. Okay, so let's go to our sheet, and I want you to go back and re-rate. Look, read those things and do the impossibility factor. How impossible. I know time has passed, but let's just see if there's. didn't even check if anybody had any questions online. No, that's good. Anybody notice a change in a number at all? Like something shifted a bit?
Yes.
Yes. So that's literally letting you know your physiology is changing, because when you're changed, like I said, every thought we think emits 50 to 70,000 neurochemicals. And the more you think those thoughts, so even tapping will start to interrupt that. And then that little shift, that's, it, sometimes I think like you can see it in the tapping world too. It's not a panacea. I mean, and what I love about tapping is in between, oh, great. Thanks, Bailey. In between jam sessions, you can tap anywhere. You're tapping. Like when I was still in corporate and I was learning tapping, I had this buyer that I had to talk to all the time. It's funny. I liked him as a person, but as like a buyer that I had to deal with, I was like, oh my God. So I'd be on the phone with him and just listening to him and just like he's ranting away at something. And then I remember one time I got up and I walked out of my office into the laundry room, and my husband goes, oh, Mark Rolke. And I go, yeah. And I'm in there and like, what? Like rant tapping. There is rant tapping is you rant it out like, and and I use expletives because that's me. And I come out, he was like, it's like Mr. Hyde went in and Dr. Jekyll came out, or whatever. Cause I released that energy. And sometimes in a meeting, like if I would just tap on the karate chop with my hands under the table. Like I want to lunge across the table. I really want to throw punch this guy, but I'm not going to. And I would just let myself internally have my truth, and I'm calming down instead of getting pissed. So the other thing I want to share for just a few minutes left is and I have to give credit. I said that I wrote this, and you see who else's name is on here. Bailey. So I wrote the initial draft. She did rewrites and all the freaking editing, and it was torturous for both of us at times. But yeah, so there's 2 names on this, not mine. So what if is what we call a bridging statement. So a lot of us go, what if that's going to fall apart? What if that's not going to happen? Well, if you flip it around and go, well, what if this could change? What if it could be possible? What if I could see this differently? What if I'll be okay? What if I'm going to be safe? What if it's going to, and you tap on that. So what if statements, what we do, this is the next book, is it's bridging the brain to believe. If anybody ever done affirmations and been like, these suck because they don't work. That's why they don't work. Because if you're in the pit of despair and you're trying to affirm your way without doing anything, like Jamp uses affirmations, but you're doing that bilateral, you're doing something to interrupt the pattern so the affirmations can take. But if you're just like, I'm just going to do affirmations and I'm going to put my vision board, the best day of my life was the day I ripped up my vision board. Because what I realized I was doing is every time I looked at it, I'm like, oh my God, I suck.
Yeah.
I'm never able to create any of this. I was doing the opposite of what it was intended to do. I was actually creating more resistance and affirming myself into it's never going to work for me. So if you're like, well, what if this could shift? What if I could see this differently? What if this could change for me? What if my health can improve? What if I could lose weight? What if I could feel better about myself? What if this could be possible? The brain grabs that more than, oh, it's my health's improving. I'm losing weight easily. I'm easily and freely becoming a multimillionaire. And the brain's like, meh. In EFT, we call it tail enders. It's the yeah, but yeah, that's not true. No, that's not true. So when you go, well, what if this could shift? And one I add is, what if maybe kind of, sort of someday this could feel better to me? Because the brain will go, oh, I kind of like that.
Well, there was a question this morning about jam and feeling terrorized after it went away.
Ah,
After the complex went away. To me, this is a beautiful bridge for that.
yes,
You finish your session and even to have something created for possibility of what might come through. to
Yes.
Tap through it and re-regulate the system again.
yes.
Ooh, good
And
point.
being aware that
It's-
it's there.
That's why I
And
love,
not pretending you're fucked up or messed up,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah,
You
right.
just start going through the system again.
so you have these incredible tools.
Mhm.
You have psychosomatics, you have jam, you have tapping, and you integrate them
Yeah.
in such a powerful way. Yeah,
Brilliant.
yeah.